Hiya, I'm Maureen Hiron and I'm thrilled to be inducted into the Games Hall of Fame. I used to be the head of the physical education department of an inner London comprehensive school. Then part of that school fell on my head, and at 32 I was pensioned off from teaching. The future looked bleak, but I did have one ace up my sleeve. I was already an expert bridge player, having represented England and Britain at bridge. So I devoted my mental energies to bridge, and the thought process involved penetrated the cloud that enshrouded my brain. Then a medical phenomenon occurred. It appeared that the former dormant areas of my brain had taken over the role of the damaged parts, and the result was that I was able to reason with the intuitive level of a child, yet still retain my acquired knowledge and 156 IQ level. The first manifestation of this came on April Fool's Day 1982. I was listening to music by my favourite composer, Bach, when in a light bulb moment I invented the first of my games. This was Continuo, a game that is a nice blend of skill and luck, that a 5-year-old can play on equal terms with all other ages, that many can play together, yet is also pleasing as a solo patience game, that is understood in seconds and transcends all language barriers. Yes, that's a lot of claims for one small game, yet it will prove to be true, judging by the millions. This is Continuo. You take the top 2 cards of the pile, which you place face down, and try to get the best score that's available to you. That looks like good to me. So, you scored 1, 2, 3, 4, yellow to yellow, and green to green, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and yellow to yellow again, 11, 12, 13, 14. You don't write that down, that's your starter position. Then the first player takes the top card from the face down pile and looks to get the best score they can, which I think that would be it. So you'd have scored 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on green, and then you have 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 on yellow, which you'll write down. Next player takes the next card from the top of the face down pile and sees what the best score can be. Okay. Nope. I think this is better. Right. This long snake, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 on green there. Another green, 11, 12, 13, 14. And yet another green, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And 2 yellows, 22. And so on until you've gone through all the cards, writing the score down as you go along, and the one with the highest score at the end is the winner. Okay, but Continuo was no one game wonder for me. I've now had over 70 games published and which sold in more than 50 countries. I've been asked, what makes a game successful? If I had the answer to that, I'd never invent a bummer. But for me, it seems that the quicker I invent a game, the more successful it becomes, especially if the rules are minimal. Take 7, 8, 9, Unterspannung in Germany and various other names in other countries. I was helping Irish Bridge International, Desmond Deary, putting new cards into the duplicate boards at the Bridge Club when I had another of those blinding flashes of inspiration. Right. This is 7, 8, 9. You turn over the top card and then you divide the pack up equally between all the other players. I'll just play as if I'm playing solo at the moment. Now you take cards into your hand from your own pile, but only one at a time. And then, when somebody calls go, you start playing cards from your hand as quickly as you can, and fill up in your pile as and when you need more. But remember, you can only bring up one card at a time. Okay, so 4 is the starting card, and it says +2 or -2. So the cards I'm looking for are either a 2 or a 6. So I shall play a 6. And now I'm looking for a 7 or a 5 because that's ± 1. There goes a 7. And that needs a 6 or an 8. Here comes an 8. I think I need a few cards at this stage. And that needs a 10 or a 6. That's a 10. Now, we've got the situation where we've got to go around a corner because 10 plus 3 is 3 and 10 minus 3 is 7. So I need either a 3 or a 7. So but here comes a 7, and now I need an 8 or a 6. And don't forget, the opponents will be putting cards down as fast as they can, so I've got to be absolutely on my toes. Seems a simple game, but it's certainly become popular, and not only with people for home play, but educationalists like it too, because it helps with mental arithmetic and the kids are enjoying themselves while they're playing it. Me and my company, Hiron Games Limited, came to the attention of City of London financiers, maybe because of my high profiling with the media. I'd even been the subject of a BBC TV documentary, A Will to Win. In the time-honoured phrase, there may be an offer, I couldn't refuse. The idea was that my company would make a reverse takeover of a major UK games company which had a stock market listing. My life, written off my previous employers, had taken a considerable upturn, but tragedy struck yet again. I was diagnosed with cancer, so my business ambitions, I reached the semi-finals of the Businesswoman of the Year competition, couldn't be brought to fruition. I needed to address the problem of kicking this cancer into touch. But even whilst an inpatient at the Royal Marsden Hospital, which was the world's first specialist cancer hospital, I continued to invent games, using my fellow patients as playtesters, including Chip-In, which my company produced to spearhead the Royal Marsden's 25 million appeal under the then presidency of Princess Diana. And I persuaded Brian Hitchens, CBE, then editor of the Daily Star, to back the appeal. This he did in a big way for 2 months, and often from the front pages of the Daily Star. Sadly, Brian and his wife were killed in a car accident in Alicante, Spain. I was also involved with the then Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, happily playing Chip-In with her in her study while members of the cabinet waited patiently downstairs. I've not restricted myself to inventing games. With my late husband Alan, we wrote several best-selling books, including the Ultimate Trivia Quiz Game book, which reached number 2 in the British bestsellers list. And I also worked in a number of TV shows, including Krypton Factor and 15 to 1. And in 1990, I was voted Londoner of the Year in London Electricity's Brightening Up London Awards. Sadly, Alan died in 1999, and my idyllic world came crashing down. Alan Hiron was a Bridge World Champion and was Bridge correspondent to The Independent. We were considered to be the perfect partnership as opposites, for I was as hyper as Alan was laid back. I proofread Alan's articles and he play-tested my games. On his death, I was appointed Bridge correspondent to The Independent and I soon added a further 6 columns per week for the Irish Independent. The music you hear is Forward to Freedom, composed in the Matzah genre which I created. I wrote the music, tweaked for the better by Shayla Bonnick of Boney M. Shayla wrote the lyrics with tweaks from me, and the whole is arranged by Shayla's Icelandic husband Ingvar Aureliusson. And singing it is Shayla Bonnick, a founder member of Boney M. Just Shayla, including all harmonies. Her voice has gone from strength to strength. During my college days, I wrote a children's operetta, which I call Cats, based on T.S. Eliot's Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats. Sounds familiar? But I did it first. Then music went onto the back burner when I got bitten with the bridge bug and later the games bug. However, while on a Caribbean cruise in 2011, I met Shayla Bonnick on MV Braemar. Boney M was the star turn on that cruise and I was a bridge lecturer. There was immediate empathy between Shayla and I. Then I brought Boney M over to Spain to perform at my 70th birthday party, and which was a roaring success. Having recently renewed my interest in music, I installed a concerto organ, this one, which I was teaching myself to play. Shayla was impressed with the pieces I'd composed and in the style she'd never heard before. When Ingvar came to take Shayla home, she asked me to play those compositions again. Ingvar was also impressed enough to suggest Shayla and I do an album together. And so the album Look Beyond in the new musical genre of Matzah was created, sung in its entirety by Shayla Bonnick. It transpired that Shayla was a keen games player and so became a trustworthy playtester of my games creations, and I became her business advisor. Boney M, and especially Shayla Bonnick's group, all former members of Form Your Own groups, have come back into demand again. Whereas the voices of the others have gone downhill, Shayla's has gone from strength to strength. It's a pleasure and a privilege to work with her and Ingvar, especially as, in our breaks, we play test my new games.